They gathered in darkness 3 nights ago. Candles flickering, your photograph placed in the center of their circle. Words spoken in languages most people have forgotten. They paid money for this, serious money, convinced that if they couldn't stop you through normal means, they'd stop you through forces beyond this realm. They wanted you trapped in confusion, drowning in fear, paralyzed by nightmares that wouldn't end. But something went catastrophically wrong for them. Something they never calculated. Something that turned their entire operation inside out. Right now, while you're watching this, they're the ones who can't sleep. They're the ones waking up in cold sweats, gasping for air, clawing at shadows that won't leave them alone. The nightmares they commissioned for you ricocheted back with triple the force. And now they're living inside a horror they created with their own hands. If your chest just tightened, if something in your gut confirmed what you've been sensing, type 888 in the comments right now. Not as superstition, as acknowledgement that you finally understand why your enemies have been acting so strange lately. Before we go deeper into what's unfolding in the shadows, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. This isn't just content. This is confirmation of everything you've been feeling, but couldn't explain. The algorithm brought you here for a reason, and that reason is about to become crystal clear. Let's begin with what actually happened in that room. The person who organized this wasn't some amateur playing with concepts they read online. They went deep, researching practitioners who work with energies most people don't believe exist. They found someone with a reputation, someone known for results, someone who'd done this kind of work for years without consequences. Money changed hands, your details were provided, and the practitioner agreed to take the job. The setup was precise, methodical, calculated. Your name written on parchment, surrounded by symbols designed to trap and confuse. Personal items if they could get them, photographs printed and placed strategically, herbs burned to open pathways between realms. The practitioner began the incantations, calling on forces that exist in spaces between light and shadow, entities that feed on fear and chaos, energies that most humans spend their entire lives avoiding. But here's where their plan shattered. The moment your name was spoken with harmful intent, something activated around you that none of them expected. Not a shield you consciously built, not protection you purchased, but something ancient and automatic that's been surrounding you since before you understood what it meant. The practitioner felt it immediately, a wall of resistance so powerful it stopped the ritual mid-breath. Imagine throwing a curse at someone, only to watch it bounce back like a rubber ball against concrete. Except this wasn't just deflection, this was amplification. The energy they sent didn't just return, it multiplied, gathering momentum as it traveled back through the same channel they opened. The practitioner tried to close the circle, tried to shut down the operation, but once certain doors get opened, they don't close on command. The first person to experience the consequences was the one who paid for it. That same night, they went to sleep expecting victory, expecting to wake up knowing you were finally suffering. Instead, they entered a nightmare so vivid, so visceral, so absolutely terrifying that they woke up screaming. Not the kind of nightmare you shake off with coffee, the kind that feels more real than reality itself. In the dream, they were trapped in a room with no exits, walls closing in slowly, darkness pressing against their chest like physical weight. They could hear whispers, could feel presence surrounding them, could sense something watching from corners their eyes couldn't reach. Every time they tried to wake up, They'd find themselves in another layer of the nightmare, like Russian dolls of terror, each one worse than the last. But here's what made it unbearable. The nightmare wasn't random horror. It was specifically designed to show them exactly what they tried to inflict on you. Every fear they attempted to install in your mind became their own experience. Every moment of confusion they wished upon you became their reality. The universe created a perfect mirror, reflecting their intentions back at them with surgical precision. When they finally woke up for real, hours had passed, but it felt like days. Their body was exhausted, as if they'd been running for miles. Their mind was fractured, unable to distinguish dream from reality. And worst of all, they knew. They absolutely knew. This wasn't coincidence. This was consequence. The nightmares didn't stop with the person who commissioned the attack. Everyone involved in that circle, everyone who contributed energy to the ritual, everyone who spoke your name with malicious intent, they all started experiencing the same phenomenon. One by one, like dominoes falling in slow motion, each person involved began their descent into nocturnal terror. The practitioner who performed the ritual tried everything in their arsenal to stop it. Cleansing rituals, protection spells, calling on entities for help, nothing worked. Because this wasn't an external attack they could defend against. This was internal consequence, karma embedded in the very fabric of what they'd attempted. They opened a door expecting to send darkness toward you, but the door opened both ways, and what came back was everything they'd accumulated over years of this work. One member of the group started seeing your face in their nightmares, but not you as you are. You as something they couldn't comprehend, something powerful and protected, and absolutely untouchable. Your image in their dreams wasn't vengeful or angry, it was calm, which terrified them even more. Because calm in the face of attack means one thing: you're operating at a level they can't reach. Another person in the circle developed insomnia so severe they haven't slept properly in weeks. Every time they close their eyes, the nightmares wait. Every time exhaustion finally pulls them under, the terror begins. They've tried sleeping pills, meditation, even checking themselves into facilities, but medication can't fix spiritual consequences. The nightmares aren't in their brain. They're in their energy field, attached like parasites, feeding on the very fear they tried to weaponize. You might be wondering why you're untouchable, why attacks that should devastate ordinary people bounce off you like rain on glass. The answer isn't that you're lucky, it's that you're marked. Not marked for destruction, marked for protection. Before you were born, before you took your first breath, certain agreements were made in realms beyond human comprehension. Your bloodline carries something these attackers didn't research properly. Ancestral protection, warrior spirits, guardians who've been watching your line for generations. Every person in your lineage who survived against impossible odds, who endured what should have broken them, who walked through fire and came out stronger, they're standing with you now. Not metaphorically, literally standing in formation around your energy field. When that practitioner tried to penetrate your defenses, they weren't just dealing with you, they were dealing with centuries of accumulated protection, layer upon layer of spiritual armor built by every ancestor who refused to break. That's why the attack failed so spectacularly. That's why the consequences came back so violently. They tried to harm someone who exists under a protection protocol most people never access. Think about your life for a moment. Think about how many times you should have been destroyed but weren't. How many accidents you narrowly avoided. How many betrayals that could have ruined you but somehow didn't. How many moments where everything should have collapsed but you remained standing? None of that was coincidence. All of it was intervention, protection working behind the scenes, guardians redirecting harm before it reached you. The nightmares aren't the only consequence they're experiencing. During waking hours, paranoia has set in like infection. They see signs everywhere, synchronicities that feel like warnings, numbers that repeat with uncomfortable frequency, shadows in their peripheral vision that vanish when they turn to look. Their minds are fracturing under the weight of what they attempted. One person in the group started hearing whispers when they're alone. Not voices they can understand, just constant whispers like conversations happening just beyond comprehension. They've checked for logical explanations, ruled out medical conditions, but deep down, they know the truth. They opened channels to communicate with forces beyond this realm, and now those channels won't close. Another member developed an inexplicable fear of darkness. Someone who used to work with shadow energies comfortably now can't be in a dark room without experiencing panic attacks. The irony is brutal. Someone who weaponized darkness is now terrified of it. That's not random. That's the universe teaching lessons in the most direct way possible. The person who organized everything is experiencing the worst of it. They're seeing patterns everywhere, convinced that every setback in their life is connected to that failed ritual. Their relationships are deteriorating because they can't explain what's happening without sounding unstable. Their work is suffering because they can't focus through the constant anxiety. Their entire world is collapsing inward. Desperation makes people creative. They've tried everything to stop the nightmares, to break the cycle, to undo what they started. They've consulted other practitioners, paid for counter spells, performed rituals designed to cleanse and protect. Nothing works because you can't use the same tools that created the problem to solve it. One person tried apologizing to you through intermediaries, hoping that if they expressed remorse, the nightmares would stop. But the universe doesn't operate on conditional apologies. You can't attempt to destroy someone spiritually and then negotiate your way out of consequences. The energy they sent carried specific intentions, and those intentions created specific results. The practitioner who performed the original ritual is in the worst position. Their reputation is destroyed because word spreads in these circles. Other practitioners know what happened, know that attempting to harm you resulted in catastrophic blowback. No one wants to take jobs involving you now because you've been marked as untouchable in ways that transcend ordinary protection. They're learning a lesson that should have been obvious from the beginning. Some people exist under protection so absolute that attacking them is essentially attacking yourself. The energy doesn't flow toward the protected. It reflects back to the source with interest. That's not revenge. That's physics, spiritual physics, operating on laws most humans never study. While they're trapped in nightmares, you've been sleeping peacefully. While they're experiencing psychological breakdown, you've been thriving. While they're desperate for relief, you've been unbothered, living your life completely unaware that attacks were even attempted. That contrast is the proof, definitive proof that you're operating under protection they can't penetrate. You didn't need to know about the attack to be protected from it. That's the beauty of the kind of coverage you carry. It's automatic, always active, working independently of your awareness. You don't have to consciously maintain it, don't have to perform daily rituals, don't have to earn it through perfection. It's there because of who you are, what you carry, and the purpose embedded in your existence. Think about how you've been feeling lately. More at peace than usual, more confident, more aligned. That's not coincidence either. Every attack that fails makes you stronger, because the energy they send gets transmuted into fuel for your elevation. They're literally powering your rise, while destroying themselves in the process. The nightmares won't stop until they learn the lesson the universe is teaching. And that lesson is simple. You don't attack chosen ones without paying the price. Not because chosen ones are vengeful, but because the forces protecting them are uncompromising. There's no negotiation, no bargaining, no shortcuts to escape consequences. Some of them will eventually break free, but only after they've experienced enough suffering to fundamentally change who they are. Only after they've learned that some people are marked as off-limits for spiritual warfare. Only after they've paid the full price for attempting to harm someone under ancestral protection. Others will carry these nightmares for years, perhaps for life. The trauma embedded in their psyche won't fade easily, because it's teaching them something essential about respecting boundaries, about understanding that not everyone is a viable target, about recognizing when you're dealing with someone who exists under coverage you can't break. You don't need to feel sympathy for them. You don't need to wish them well or hope they heal quickly. Their consequences are their own to bear. Their lessons are their own to learn. Your job isn't to rescue them from what they created. Your job is to keep rising, keep thriving, keep living proof that protection is real and attacks fail when directed at the wrong person. Welcome to your power, chosen one. While they drown in nightmares they commissioned, you stand in the light they tried to extinguish. That contrast is your victory. And it didn't require you to lift a single finger. The universe handled everything while you kept living, kept growing, kept becoming the person you were always meant to be. If this resonated, drop 888 in the comments, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to understand their own protection. Your enemies tried black magic and trapped